Good morning. Welcome to Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. We're going to get started right off with our first two opening community songs. I invite you right where you are to lift your voice, join in and sing. The words will be on the bottom of your screen if you're unfamiliar with the songs. Here we go.
Come on, everybody. Climb aboard the love train. 1, 2, 3, go. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. Well, the next stop we make will be England. Tell all the folks in Russia and China too. Don't you know that it's time to get on board? Riding on. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. All of you brothers over in Africa, tell all the folks in Egypt and Israel too. Please don't miss this train at the station, 'cause if you miss it, I feel sorry for you. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. Ride, let it ride, let it ride, yeah. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. Sometimes I'm right, I can be wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. The butcher, the baker, the drummer, and then makes no difference what group I'm in. I am everyday people. Yeah, yeah.
There is a blue one who can accept the green one, for living with the fat one, trying to be a skinny one. Different strokes for different folks. So on and so on and Scooby-Dooby-Dooby. Ooh, cha-cha.
We got to live together. I am no better, and neither are you. We are the same, whatever we do. You love me, you hate me, you know me, and then you can't figure out the bag I'm in. I
is a long hair that doesn't like the short hair, for he is such a rich one that will not help the poor one. Different strokes for different folks, and so on and so on, and Scooby-Dooby-Dooby. Ooh, sha-sha.
We got to live together.
There is a yellow one that won't accept the black, one that won't accept the red, one that won't accept the white one. Different strokes for different folks, so on and so on, and Scooby-Dooby-Dooby. Ooh, sha-sha.
And everyday people.
Welcome back. You sounded amazing. So my name is Reverend Rafe Ellis, and I am so honored and privileged to be the senior minister here at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. I want to welcome all of our regulars this morning, and if you're visiting us as a guest this morning from wherever you are welcome and celebrated here. Whether you're with us on YouTube, Zoom, or Facebook, whether you're with us live or you're enjoying this at some other time at your convenience, welcome. So let me share with us to remind us of who we are, and share with our guests to educate you about who we are. We are a radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, supportive community that celebrates the very diversity of creation. We strive to live authentic spiritual lives through a practical application of the teachings of science of mind. We engage in sacred practices that uplift our spirit, deepen our awareness, and ignite our soul's self-expression. We demonstrate active compassion to ourselves, to one another, and the world. We experience meaningful contribution through giving generously of our time, talents, and treasures, and we intentionally promote our community and our teachings. And so if you are listening to this, watching us through the live feed on any social media platform, you can participate in expanding the availability of these teachings by sharing this on your personal page. If you're listening to it later, you can grab this YouTube link, share it on your social media platform, or through email with anyone that you think might enjoy these teachings. So one of the things that we do to exemplify our inclusion practice is our inclusion candlelighting ritual that we do at the beginning of every Sunday service. And we light these candles to celebrate the unity of all people, all faiths, all beings, all life. We light the first candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the ways of fundamental spirituality. We light the second candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the third candle for Taoism, honoring the path of ultimate reality, the natural way. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the middle way and path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the teachings of Jesus as the path of love, forgiveness, and healing by the presence within. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought teachings, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles of love and law. We light the 10th candle for absolute inclusivity, affirming that all are welcome and celebrated here. And we light this final candle, honoring the infinity of oneness as all creation, seen and unseen. And so I invite you now, right where you are, to lift your voice again, to join us in our next community song as we fill this universe with joy and the sound of music. The words will be right there on the bottom of the screen in case you're not familiar with the song. Enjoy.
God is breathing me and resting in the breath of God. I know that all is well. The breath of God is breathing me and resting in the breath of God. I know that all is well. The grace of God is gracing me and resting in the grace of God. I know that all is well. The joy of God is joy in me and resting in the joy of God. I know that all is well. The love of God is loving me and resting in the love of God. I know that all is well. The breath of God is breathing me and resting in the breath of God. I know that all is well. That all is well. I know that all is well.
So this is our time of announcements. We still have our morning meditation and prayer time. It is now Tuesday through Saturday from 8 to 8:30 a.m. I want to thank Reverend Sarah Nichols for holding down the Monday meditation for almost a year, and she is no longer able to do that. So it will just be Tuesday through Saturday, 8 to 8:30 a.m., and that is available on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. We have our Tuesday night meeting, Actualizing Wholeness Discussion Group, and that is available every Tuesday from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m., and that is an incredibly deep and lively discussion group using the David Bohm dialogue technique, where we simply explore consciousness with no particular agenda, nowhere to go with it, simply to experience it. Wednesday night, we're continuing our 52-week spiritual activism practices for 2021 from 6 to 7 p.m., and that is offered on Zoom only. And I was having a conversation recently with someone about spiritual activism and clarifying that spiritual activism literally is how we activate spirit within us and live from there in every area of our lives, including our social interactions. So I hope you'll choose to join us for that and check it out. We have our upcoming spiritual economics class using the book Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth. I want to thank Jerry Lynn for reaching out and bringing to my awareness that I used the old flyer with some incorrect information on last week's newsletter, and so I have made that correction, so you'll get the new updated information on the newsletter that comes out later today. And so it is being offered on Thursday in 2 different sessions, in the morning session from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and in the evening session from 5 to 8 p.m., and those are Pacific times. The class is scheduled to start March 4th and run through April 22nd. The early bird registration is available until the end of the day on February 28th, and we do have an installment plan available if folks need that. In terms of how much the book costs, I really don't know. It depends on where you purchase it. They have different prices, and I'm sure you can actually find some online that are used at very different prices. In terms of the homework that is expected, which was another question I was asked, this is a class of participation, and so you will get out of it what you put into it. And so there is an expectation that you will be engaged and that you will do the reading and that you will do the inward journey assignments, and maybe think of them more as invitations to explore and expand your understanding of these teachings and yourself. And so it really is what you will invest in yourself is the best answer to that question. Okay, and finally, we have our first online vernal equinox celebration. The practitioners have been doing the seasons of prayer for a couple of years now, and this is our first one online. It will happen on the equinox, Saturday, March 20th, 2021, from 4 to 6 p.m. The first 45 minutes of that will be a vernal equinox ritual and meditation. And so Deborah Ellis, one of our practitioners who is facilitating this along with her fellow practitioners, has asked that everybody show up to the Zoom with an altar item that they can share with the group as we build a virtual community altar. And then we will vision together, gain some clarity, and she will take us through a ritual of planting our new intentions in the soil of consciousness for our personal and community growth. Following that, 4:30-ish to 4:45, depending on how that plays out, until 6 p.m., licensed practitioners and ministers will be available for one-on-one prayer with you. And just like if you were there with the Seasons of Prayer in person, you could go from one practitioner to the other and pray with as many practitioners and or ministers as you wished. We will still be able to provide that for you one-on-one using the breakout rooms in Zoom. We're well versed in this technology. It is a private space, unrecorded, and so please do consider coming and availing yourself of all the prayer that you can absorb in one evening. We look forward to sharing that time with you. So this is our time of inward shift. And so I invite you to minimize the distractions in whatever immediate physical area that you're in. I do issue a word of concern. If you are driving, please continue to attend to your driving activity. You can always meditate with us later. And so we will begin with a brief contemplative meditation, after which our practitioner this morning, Deborah Ellis, will bring us out of the meditation with our opening affirmative prayer, followed by leading us in reading our weekly affirmation. Enjoy. Observe what is going on in your life and know that you are not your experiences. I notice what is going on inside of me. What do I need to do to get to that space where I could be the happiest and the most powerful person in my world? If I have done a lot of work on myself and I understand the principles that what I think and say goes out from me, and the universe responds and it comes back, then I observe myself. I watch myself without judgment and without criticism. This seems to be one of the biggest hurdles I have to make. Just look at myself objectively, all the things about me. Just note what they are without making comments. Just observe. As I allow myself the space to go inside and begin to notice what is going on, how I feel, how I react, what I believe. I come from a space where I am much more open. Today, I notice what is going on inside of me.
Continuing in this silence and allowing your next breath to be a little bit deeper than the one before. Breathing in the love that is present right here and right now. There is only one power, one presence, one eternal, all-knowing source that I call Spirit this morning. It is forever giving of itself, uplifting all of creation, in and through and as the majesty of love. It is deep and abiding faith. It is perfect health, perfect peace, perfect love. And it is the heartbeat of all of life. It is that heartbeat that I am knowing as the perfect divine expression of this love. So it is with great joy that I speak a word of truth from this place, claiming and affirming that there is a unity, an interconnectedness that is reigning supreme in and through and as all there is. I accept the blessings of this day as they unfold in the consciousness of the collective, of the individualized expression of this one. I accept a place of love and tenderness, knowing that all needs are met, and all that is seen and all that is unseen. So thankful for all of the hands that go into preparing this service here at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. I give thanks for our beloved Reverend Rafe, for all of the practitioners, for all of the congregants, for all of the love that is present here in this very room and beyond. My heart is filled with such gratitude to know this truth this day and to know what is really happening right here. And so I simply just lift my awareness in this truth and allow it to be so. And I release into that activity of divine love and law and simply just allow it to be. And together we say, and so it is. Blessed be. My name is Deborah Ellis, and I am so privileged and honored to be one of the practitioners here in service at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. So grateful for this place, for this day, and for you. So wherever you're tuning in from, we welcome you, and we're glad you're here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read the affirmation, and I'm going to read it once, and then we'll read it together. So here we go. I am in the circle of love, which surrounds all in everlasting unity. I am in the circle of love, which surrounds all in everlasting unity. And so it is. Blessed be.
There's a calm surrender to the rush of day, when the heat of a rolling wave can't be turned away. An enchanted moment, and it sees me through. It's enough for this restless voyager just to be with you. Can you feel the love right now? It is where we are. It's enough for this wide-eyed wanderer that we got this far. Can you feel the love right now? it's laid to rest. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best. There's a time for everyone if we only learn that the twisting kaleidoscope moves us all in turn. There's a rhyme and reason to the wild outdoors when the heart of the star-crossed Voyager beats in time with yours. Can you feel the love right now? It is what we are. It's enough for this wide-eyed wanderer that we've got this far. Can you feel the love right now? How it's laid to rest. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best.
Take a breath with me. So we're continuing with our annual theme, Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And we'll be hearing this every Sunday throughout the year to really anchor it in our experience. We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. This is a universe of wholeness, allness, oneness. Spirit is a transcendent, perfect wholeness that in its infinite inclusivity harmoniously embraces all seeming opposites. Evolutionary vision. We envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. A world where this kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of the spiritual wisdom and experience. We see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with spirit and connection with each other. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. What a beautiful thing to focus on for the entire year and perhaps our entire life. So our monthly theme is One Journey, Many Paths. And today's particular title is One Mind, Infinite Connection. in alignment with our Centers for Spiritual Living annual convention that just completed online. And what an amazing time that was. I will just share briefly that it truly offered everyone who was open to it an experience of infinite connection beyond physical boundaries. This year was our virtual convention, and we literally connected with people from all over the globe. And it's simply a matter of removing the mental barrier that we've created against using technology to allow us to truly feel and experience being deeply connected with people that are thousands of miles physically removed from us. It was amazing. And so this week, looking at One Mind Infinite Connection, we're encouraged to move from the thinking part of oneness to the experience of oneness. One of the moments that really captured me during Vista was when I got to hear our beloved Reverend Lisa Carson, who is from the Chico Paradise area, speaking to us from Chiang Mai, Thailand, where she is now unfolding her ministry in Thailand. It was just amazing. And so can we begin to really consider oneness from the perspective that it really is one journey, many paths, one mountain, many trails, one river, many streams and many currents, one tree, many branches, one source, many expressions of that source in physical form. Because that's what's available to us, to move from knowing it and knowing about it to that experiential feeling level where we have embodied it. The context for today's talk, one might imagine, in order to experience that feeling of oneness, that experience of oneness, that we have to know deeply and embody that there is one substance, and that one substance is individualized in a multiplicity of form that, fair enough, seems separate in this physical realm, and yet allowing ourselves to embody that there is no separation. That when I'm looking at you, I'm looking at me. Because we're each the I am in form. Our global heart vision for Centers for Spiritual Living offers us a global perspective. Here at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living, we're a radically inclusive, spiritually progressive community that celebrates the very diversity of creation. And what that really means is that we dare to recognize and celebrate that every individualized expression of the one is on purpose. And so automatically it's included, and we make a conscious choice and an intentional practice of including every expression, which is a radical notion here on planet Earth. Ernest Holmes says this: Within this infinite mind, each individual exists. We are not separated from life, neither is it separated from us. But we are separate entities within it, individualized centers of God consciousness. Now, consciousness is that substance. And we have to be clear about how we're using this word consciousness, because the medical profession uses it about whether or not you're conscious, as in unconscious or conscious. Psychology uses it as the, different levels of psychological functioning. We often use it as different levels of awareness. In this context, I'm using it as consciousness, capital C, the substance out of which all is created. And being created out of it, we know that everything must contain that consciousness. Yes? Okay. So we absolutely must find and participate in spiritual practices that resonate with us, that open us to a greater understanding, a greater experience, a greater expansion of that consciousness within us. Here at Centers for Spiritual Living, here at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living, just like the entire organization, we really teach and encourage the practice of the 5 pillars. The first being meditation. Meditation being seeking that guidance from within, that sacred listening. And there are as many ways to meditate as there are people on the planet. If you don't have a regular meditation practice, I invite you to join us each morning, at least Monday through Saturday. And in the Sunday service, we have a meditation as well. And begin to just play with it and practice. See where it takes you. And then there is affirmative prayer, which we take those things that come to us in that divine listening and speak them into realization. And when I use the word realization, I am speaking about making it real in this physical realm. To realize it. And we do that by recognizing what the infinite is, that we are infinitely connected with it. We speak the desires of our heart into realization, and we speak those in the now, because we're recognizing that it's already present even before we see it in the physical realm. And that practice takes us to gratitude, and we express our gratitude. And then we know that the law of life unfolding, the law of manifestation, has it handled, and that it's not anything that we do in this human realm, but rather the law informs our actions in the human realm. So we let go. And that's our form of affirmative prayer. Spiritual study is the third pillar, and it's significant because being a new thought philosophy, a new thought faith, a new thought way of life, we have to create a pathway to having some new thoughts. And one of the best pathways that I can offer you is teaching, is study, spiritual study. And again, many paths to get there. I invite you to take a look at the spiritual economics class. I think you'll find that it's more than you imagined it might be. I want to read you just a little snippet from the book that we'll be using, Eric Butterworth's Spiritual Economics. Life's innermost secret is the divine pattern in you, which you can only really know when you are giving yourself in service. You can work for money and prestige and climb the pinnacle of success and still not know yourself, thus seeking other avenues of escape, such as alcohol and various kinds of addiction. All this is because your work does not satisfy you. And the reason it doesn't satisfy you is that you are not satisfied with or fulfilled in yourself. So if you think this class is all about how to make money, it's not. But what it is about is this glorious, deep experience and learning of the truth of you and how to listen deeply, how to use these other pillars. And he speaks of service. And service is literally oneness in action. It is giving of that inner self through the physical self, which is very much part of the activity of our fifth pillar, circulation. And notice it's called circulation. We often misinterpret it as giving, but giving is only one part of the circulation, because we inhale and we exhale. The very blood in our bodies goes down one side, okay, leaves left, returns right. Everything in nature is based in circulation. It rains, it evaporates, it rains, it evaporates. Things grow, they fall down, they decompose, feed the soil, sprout new growth. Circulation is the very nature of creation. We come here in form, and at some time in our journey, we return to the formless, right back from what we came out of. Everything is circulation. And so part of this class of spiritual economics is understanding the cycle of circulation and really becoming clear about where am I currently fitting into it and what is available to me to fit into it and more deeply participate in that circulation. We practice inclusion. And part of the big thing of inclusion is we have to show up. Here in our own lives, we have to show up. Here at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living, we have to show up. We have to show up in our communities. We have to show up in our state. We have to show up in our world. And here's the trick. To really be inclusive and to practice inclusivity, we have to show up without attachment. We have to be willing to be vulnerable, to share those divine ideas that are making themselves known as we engage in those 5 spiritual practices without attachment, because we're living in the experience of oneness that understands every experience is essential to the whole. And so we have to let go of having things our way, which means we have to let go of criticizing and pointing fingers at others who we have decided are doing it wrong. Let me say that again. That means we have to give up criticizing and pointing fingers at those we've decided are doing it wrong and really make room. Because a big part of inclusion is we have to stop being right, because in order to be right, we've had to make someone else wrong. And that is the activity of exclusion. And so I invite you to consider Matthew 22, verses 37 through 39. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And he continues. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And so my call to action to you this week is to really get real with yourself. To ask yourself, how do I understand and practice love thy neighbor as thyself? Am I understanding that the first part of that is love thyself? And that requires us to know thyself. The God self, the spiritual self, the innermost being self. Because as we know that self, we know oneness, and everyone becomes our neighbor. It gets really simple. The second thing that I invite you to do this week is to really take a deep look at, am I practicing forgiveness to liberate myself and others from the dis-ease of resentment? Forgiveness has nothing to do with the person who wronged you. And we have all been harmed in this human realm, mentally, emotionally, some of us physically. Forgiveness is the practice of liberating you from being chained to the past. Now that's a whole nother talk. That's a whole class. And as we practice forgiveness, we emancipate ourselves, we liberate ourselves, and as we know freedom, we more deeply participate in oneness. And finally, what values? We've gotten 11 folks have responded to the values process that we're doing. I'm going to leave it up for one more week till the end of February, and then we'll continue the process by whittling it down some more. But what values are required to create and participate in a beloved community? Not just at the Sierra Center level, but certainly there, but the greater beloved community, the beloved community of all creation. What values? When you ask that question and listen deeply, what comes alive in you? So I invite you to play with these 3 questions this week, to consider those 5 pillars of spiritual practice. If there's something I can do to assist you, to empower you in improving, to up-leveling your practice in any of those areas, I am here. Reach out. I cannot, will not even try to read your mind, but I am here when you reach out. Let's take this into prayer. And so knowing that there is one infinite, ever-present allness, knowing that it is everywhere present, knowing that it has always existed, having no beginning, it can have no end, it is eternal. Knowing that it is infinite, it has no edges, so its very center must be everywhere present. And knowing that it is the singular substance out of which all is created, and that its only desire is to express. I know that I am created out of it, by it, to express it in form. And so I speak my word, knowing that what is true of me is true of all, and that the word I speak is the word of the I am. Claiming, affirming, accepting as true that life is unfolding perfectly, that I am one with all beings, one infinite multiplicity. So I commit myself again this morning to being a place where God shows up, to being the activity of God, experiencing God from an awareness level, from an intentional level, knowing that as I do, anything unlike that rises to my awareness to be neutralized and transformed. And that as I transform what is in my thought processes, I transform what is operating in the collective mind. One mind, one wholeness, one perfection. And so I celebrate. I celebrate the truth that the divine law unfolding, God as God, the soul of creation, is unfolding everything perfectly. And that I get to say yes. That I compel nothing and Spirit compels me. Yes. And so in my yes, I release, I let go. And I simply step into this divine yes of being more than my human brain imagines me to be. I invite you to anchor these words with me as we say together, Amen. Amen. Aho. Shalom. Ashe. And so it is. Take a breath with me as we shift. This is our time of conscious, intentional giving. If you have been spiritually fed by this time together this morning, I ask that you consider giving financially to Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. We are solely supported by the giving from your wallet to ours. No gift is too small, and no gift is too big. We celebrate you for being a part of our community. And so I invite you right now, let's say our prosperity affirmation together. I give this gift with love and joy from a consciousness of abundance. Divine love blesses and prospers all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. So just a quick reminder before we sing out with our closing song, do check the announcements in the newsletter. If you're not currently receiving our newsletter, please reach out. Rafe at sierracenter.org. Let me know you would like to receive that, and I'll be happy to put you on our mailing list and get that right out to you. I want to take a moment to thank Sharon Joy Jehoda for our beautiful flowers this morning and for taking the time to coordinate with me so that we could get them in here and enjoy their beauty. Thank you so much, beloved, for the gift of you. And so I invite you now to join us in our closing song to let the words to this song become an anthem for your life. Let's work together. I'll see you on Zoom in just a minute.
One, two, three, four.